Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Grayle, and I wanted to weigh in and give my 2 cents on an issue that you see bandied about on a lot of chat rooms and Facebook groups and things like this that celebrate Hecate. And the issue I'd like to address is very often you see people posting with the best of intentions something to the effect of, I just saw a raven outside my window. Does that mean Hecate accepted my prayer? Or I've been seeing crows following me around everywhere I go. Is this a sign of Hecate? Or I'm not a dog person, I have cats. Are cats sacred to Hecate? There's constant requests about these types of things, usually about animal epiphanies. I had a dream about a dolphin. Is a dolphin an aspect of Hecate? And there's this you can't blame people. There's this real desire. They've seen something, they've witnessed something, they've experienced that frisson of synchronicity, and they want some confirmation that what they're seeing has an actual spiritual source and isn't just, random, right? So it's very understandable, but it's something I wanted to talk about because there's 3 important things to remember when you're looking in your own life for synchronicities to tell you that a God is present. Okay? The first one is tradition, right? The basic basis of tradition. And all spirits and powers and deities that we know about have some sort of tradition attached to them. And if we look to the most primal base source materials, we can find out what their animal epiphanies were, often what metal was associated with them, what flowers or plants, even what times of the year, even what parts of the body, of the home, of the natural world. Okay? And just a quick Google search online will tell you that when Hecate, or Hecate, or Hecate, as different people style her, but when her cult was in full effect in Greece, she was most closely associated with thresholds, like doorways, crossroads, the gates of the cities. She was associated with the dark of the moon. She was associated with, of animals, the dog. Right? And it's no wonder. The dog back then was used, as it often is now, as a guardian of thresholds, a guardian of borders. It was a gatekeeper of sorts, right? And it reminds us in myth of the 3-headed dog Cerberus that guarded the gate. Hecate herself is referred to as a gatekeeper, a torchbearer, someone who guards thresholds and who guides people through them, whether it's the threshold from one place to the next, from one state to the next, or from one reality to the next, the reality of being unborn to being born, the reality of dying and entering the underworld. She's the guard and guide, the psychopomp that leads souls through these places. So it's not unusual to think that her epiphany, the animal associated with her in the waking world, the mundane world, the seen world, would be the dog. Yeah. So it doesn't take long to figure that out, and knowing that is useful. And if you wish to call Hecate into your life, if you've read her Orphic hymn or left out an offering or honored the new moon by leaving out some food or pouring out some sort of a libation, and you were to see a dog the next day or dream of a dog or have a vision of a dog, well, then you could say, I had an epiphany of Hecate that was consistent with her original traditional practice. Yeah? And it's a wonderful feeling to feel like there's a current of magic that flows through from people thousands of years ago to me, and I experienced it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? So here's the question. All these people, most of them know it. Most of them aren't asking, I saw a black dog, does that mean Hecate is on my side? They're saying dolphin, bat, rat, owl, raven. Here's the other 2 things to remember. First of all, Hecate was honored over millennia, all right, and over a space of thousands of miles in different countries. To look at any one moment in her practice is like taking a snapshot, right? It's accurate. But there were times that came before and there were times that came after, and her praxis changed, and there was adaptations made by different people in different lands who spoke different languages and had different experiences, okay? And so, 800, 900 years after her cult is first, comes into being in Caria, which is a part of southwestern Turkey, we can see in ancient Roman spells from Egypt, Hecate invoked by all sorts of remarkable names. You see in these spells, vultures being conjured, Hecate Selene, the goddess of the moon, being conjured as a bull because the horns of the bull were associated with the crescent moon, as well as serpents, dragons, wolves. There's a phrase, you hide your form in the shanks of lions. Your ankle is wolf-shaped. Fierce dogs are dear to you. They call the Ecate. So here we have bulls, serpents, dragons, all kinds of animals, right? And that's not the limit of it. So in different countries, the practice changed. And you might read it and say, oh, I wish I had access to those myths that this, ancient person had. Well, guess what? Most of them were inspiration from normal people like you or me. Someone looked at the moon and saw the crescent and thought, it looks just like a bull's horn. I wonder if Ecate Selene, that conflation of Ecate, the goddess of thresholds, and Selene, the titan of the moon, I wonder if the bull is sacred to her. And some of the spells in late antiquity talk about Ecate Selene being bull-voiced, bull-horn, eyed like a bull, with a voice of bulls, the head of a bull, right? Very masculine, dominant, authoritative, powerful imagery, very different from the black dog. Yeah? So the tradition changed, and it doesn't take much effort to look at different hymns, the Orphic hymns, the invocations in the Greek magical period, the PGM, and various other conjurations and spells from that period. And not only that period, but, the plays of William Shakespeare and the tragedy of Macbeth have references to Hecate, as do the play The Witch by Thomas Middleton. And, of course, poets and visionaries like Aleister Crowley in the 20th century also write hymns and poems to her in which they invoke her in ways that are not normal. In the 20th century began to be associated with the crone and older women, magical, wise women. This wasn't traditional, but it is a tradition of visionaries and spiritual people trying to interpret their experience of her through art, creativity, inspiration, and passionate spirituality, right? So you can look at her oldest forms, in this case it'd be in, the earliest references to her, to look at what her epiphanies are, or you can look at the developed tradition, and it doesn't take that much to track it down, to say, oh, there were other creatures, other animals, other, natural epiphany that were associated with her. Or, here's the third thing. You look at your own gnosis. And let me be clear here. First of all, there's great value when we choose to honor a traditional power like Hecate, of looking at the traditional hymns, the traditional myths, the traditional stories, the traditional praxis. It's wonderful to have that, because then we're aware of what the current of spirituality and magic and sorcery was from back then. So then when it manifests in our lives, we recognize it. And it can be a great inspiration and very exciting to say, I had the same vision, the same sort of dream that someone had 2,000 years ago when they left the same offering I did. I'm part of that tradition now. I'm experiencing the through line, the consistency, of that magical current. And it's thrilling, right? But that's not to say that we cannot have our own unique, individualized experience of that power. If I call forth Ecate, if I say, I want a relationship with you, please manifest in my life. If I read the Orphic hymn aloud, perhaps, or some of the other conjurations in the PGM, I leave out an offering on the new moon. I'm devout and sincere in my desire. And that night I hear an owl hoot, and I have a dream of a white owl. Instead of posting, is the owl sacred to Hecate, I would just wait and do it again. Make more offerings to Hecate, contemplate on her, read more of her hymns and myths, and then another offering at the new moon. And perhaps I hear that owl hoot again. Perhaps I see in my waking life images of owls. Perhaps I can't get them out of my head, and say it happens a third time. Well, instead of reaching out, saying, someone tell me if it's Ecate, trust your inner instinct, okay? Don't let people tell you. You don't even know these people, most of them, okay? Don't sell yourself short. You know that you've repeatedly reached out, and you repeatedly keep seeing owls. You're hearing them in your dreams, in the waking life, in the mundane world. Well, work with that, okay? Even if no human being in the face of the earth ever associated her with owls before, you're getting something. Trust your intuition. Trust your instinct. Read up on owls. What owls are native to your area? What animal might you be hearing? What does it eat? Where does it live? See if you can find one. Do they have them at the zoo? Get out a book on one. Perhaps draw an image of one. Incorporate it onto your altar. Try to find an owl feather. Work with it. And by doing that, do you feel like you're tying into that power? Do the dreams increase? Do you feel a connection? Because what you may have discovered is an individualized connection to the spirit you're calling. And if you say to yourself, well, how do I know it's the real Ecate? The question has no meaning. The name Ecate is a nickname to begin with. It means far worker, something like that. The name is just a window into the reality of the spirit power. The name is just a door. The name is something we call to allow us to pass through the threshold of rationality and have a direct, emotional, and truthful spiritual connection to an undefinable power that is eternal. Yeah? So don't worry about, is it the real? Will the real Ecate please stand up? That's not something we need to worry about. Don't let other people tell you that what you're experiencing isn't real or true. Trust yourself. Keep your senses alert. Be open-minded. Notice what you're seeing and what you're not seeing. Take note of it. Keep track of it. And work with what you're given. And if you do that, I have absolutely no doubt, I sincerely believe, you will make contact with the power that you're reaching out to. And that contact will enrich your life. Okay? So trust yourselves. Be open-minded. Do your research, but understand that your spiritual reality is just as valid as anyone who lived thousands of years ago. Yeah? So if you like this, check out theblackthornschool.com. It's a platform I teach classes on Ecate and the magic of Roman Egypt and the Greek magical papyri. Check it out and have a great day.